beautiful people. I hope you are having a great day. So, whenever you're listening to me, just know that you're listening to Give It to the People, and we are live. Now, today I have a great guest that's going to be on with me, and I'm wearing his shirt, not his shirt, but a shirt that he gave me that he sent to me, and it says, "No matter what happens, I win." And yeah, I mean, that's true. That definitely should be a mantra that's out here, right? No matter what happens, I win. And I want to just my guest tonight, so I'm gonna wait for him to come on really quickly. And then what I'm gonna do is I'm going to introduce you to how the show works. Alfred, how are you?
Hello there, Miss Chisa. How are you?
I am wonderful. So I said I'm going to bring you on, and then I'm going to introduce the show, so this way everybody knows, if you have not tuned in before. What we do here at Give It to the People Live is we showcase businesses, specifically Black-owned, woman-owned, nonprofits that are doing something great in the community that maybe everybody didn't know about. Maybe some people did, but it introduces people, and we're building our own little community where we're showcasing these people. So this is my friend. Her name is Tammy Faye.
Sometimes
Tammy Faye Tambourine Brown. And whenever somebody says something really great, then what we do is we gotta take a little time and do a little praise break so that this way Tammy can get her life, because I think that oftentimes people say some great things, and it's kind of like that we gotta repeat some stuff so that this way the people in the back get to hear it, just in case they missed it. So I want to just welcome you out tonight, Alfred, and I want you to just give them a little background on who you are and your story.
Well, for those that don't know, and I see a lot of people logged on that do know me, I started out writing as a kid. I went through a lot of life changes. As an adult, I found my voice that had been silenced for a long time by becoming the leader of Child Portrait Media many years ago.
Okay.
Then I stumbled across podcasting. I mean, it's a Facebook ad, which really transformed my life. So along the way, you've seen me go through job changes, business ventures, everything. That's why I was so excited that you brought me on. I'm like, wow, Chisa's seen the journey, and sometimes criticize me on the journey, but that's cool because criticism leads to growth. Criticism leads to growth. It leads to growth. We don't always see ourselves as others see us. So I can talk about me all day long, but I prefer people just click the links and find me. They can read that kind of thing. However, I'm going to give you a story behind my new brand, how I rebranded myself this year.
Okay.
For those that don't know, I was fired from the city of Greensboro back in 2015.
Okay.
I really fired myself. But I kept plugging away to get back my old job because I enjoyed what I was doing so much. Got hired at the city of High Point, liked what I was doing there, but really wanted my old job back. So this past spring, I had opportunity. I reapplied again for the fourth time. There's power in persistence. It's something don't always want to acknowledge.
Okay.
And this time, they brought me in for an interview and made me a job offer. In the process thereof, though, I told my supervisor, High Point, got wind of it. I told him, no matter what happens to me, I'll win. So that became my new brand slogan. So I have a job I like doing, and I'm after a job I really love to do. And so I'm like, whoa, so you have this T-shirt store, this digital is kind of lingering out there. Why not make a T-shirt, redo the whole process? So literally, no matter what happens, I win. Even in my job interview, I told them at the end, I said, whether you hire me or not, I don't lose. For the first time in my life, I'm in a position, business-wise, where I'm seeing connections being formed. Job-wise, I'm in a position where I got the best of both worlds. I can't lose. So now you're wearing the purple version of the shirt because my girlfriend suggested purple and pink. So I added purple and pink. So you have to listen to you women folk in our life. You know what I'm saying?
You do.
So, and I'm like, Jesus, honor me like this. I got to give her a purple shirt. Royalty, all that stuff you represent.
You see it, I'm giving you African Queen realness tonight.
There you go. You bringing it. You bringing it.
With a laugh. Because look, I said, let's go find something that's got some purple up in here to coordinate so that this way I'll do his shirt justice this evening.
Yeah, you went there. You went there. So now I'm like my regular open mouth, free flowing self. When people say, well, you're kind of control. Yes, I am until I'm in this element. I'm at home now. This is my element. And you allow me to be here. the podcast, going back to the poetry part, I do have a copy of my book, which is only available on Blurb.
Okay.
It's a semi-autobiographical. You can find it on my Linktree, which is on my Instagram page and elsewhere. Alfred Harrell, More Than a Poet. It hasn't done well, but I think it's going to blow up tonight because its title, it says, "We Are One, Little Boy Lost." That photo is the only one in existence for me as a child.
What? Did something happen as to why you don't have any more photos?
Going back to no matter what happens, I win. Those that know, I grew up in an environment of emotional and mental abuse.
Okay.
Black men don't like talking about that kind of thing. I had a great, very loving grandmother, but she allowed sexual molestation for the men, the guys that came to the household, mental and emotional abuse. I shouldn't even be here. I tell people often, but I'm here. I'm here by the grace of God. I'm here by having a strong mother who, no matter how many times she was pushed down by her mama, she rose up. She volunteered in school. She set the pattern for me to follow. I'm not the only sibling, but I'm not going to bring my family business into all this other than that. I came out of it. I'm here today. And mother played a part. My kids, one of my sons on now, Ty Studios. Please support him. He runs a great business out of Atlanta, audiobook production. But besides all that, besides that shout out, they know my story. 58 years old, no matter what happens, I'll win. And a friend of mine, perhaps you may know him, Tyson, he plays the saxophone. Years ago, he nicknamed me Mr. 12 Hats. That's where More Than a Poet came from. I said, Mr. 12 Hats don't sound as good as More Than a Poet. So I chose that brand.
Okay.
And so that picture, you said, what happened as a child? That photo was identified by a Facebook friend, and I posted it. I didn't even know how old I was. My selective memory from time to time, I blocked out how old I was. They told me I was in second grade when that picture was taken.
So somebody else recognized it.
Yeah, when I put it on Facebook and said, we were in the second grade together. I'm like, oh, that's how old I was. I didn't have no clue.
Wow.
I was in my 40s.
I had no idea we were even going to go in this direction this evening. But one thing that I am
I go in this direction because a lot of us black men fail to realize at some point, all men of all colors, but especially my race, don't want to acknowledge that our journey to professional success sometimes is by means of that ladder of emotional trauma, mental trauma, spiritual trauma. We arrive. That's why I love people like David Goggins, Tyler Perry, other people. They know what it's like to be in the gutter. And they pull themselves out of it, whereas others do not choose to stay in it. Me, this was actually a healing process. Family putting it in a very short book. Yeah, I want people to read it, but it's also got stories of people I met in Greensboro in it. Not you though, because you it's somebody else. So
okay.
So now I'm gonna shut up. So this is your show. You do your thing. You ask for a few moments.
I do want to definitely get into that because one thing that I'm adamant about is mental health, and I like to call it mental wealth because I really feel like oftentimes we don't realize how much stress, anxiety, depression, those things creep into our lives, and it could have been, typically it is some form of trauma. You know what I'm saying? It doesn't have to be as direct as yours. It could be a mental thing. It could be the way somebody talked to you, the way people treated you. But as I'm just developing in this area, and specifically looking at different things that therapists say, and just really trying to discover some things. The one thing is that we typically have in common is somebody did something when you were a child, which then forms the way that you start to behave as an adult. Do you think that any of that trauma that you had then may have hindered or helped some of your relationships? Like maybe because you had that trauma, maybe you are a better father, or maybe because you had that trauma, did you have any relationship problems? Was there anything that with that trauma that happened at a young age that was good or bad as you started to grow up and develop and have relationships?
Going back to my mother again, she found ways to make sure I had male mentors around. As age of 13 onward, she made sure I was in healthy environments where I could engage with other positive role models in my small town. Then she got married at I was like 18, and my stepdad became more of a father to me and guided me in some ways. I never really addressed the trauma other than through writing different poems along the way. In my married years, it was a really good life. There was a lot of structure in place. In my divorce years, it was like in the book, there's a poem called The Manchild. I was living that duality of conflict.
Mm-hmm.
I have an amazing life now. Everybody in my life gets along
Mm-hmm.
fairly well. Grown adult sons, grandkids, all that. But the part that made me become who I was choosing not to live the life I had as a
Come on.
child or as a teenager.
Look, hold on, Tammy got
Because
to come out for that. Woo! Say that again.
so many people don't. So many of us, male or female, fail to realize it's about choice.
Yes.
I chose a certain path as an adult religiously. It helped.
Mm-hmm.
In my dark periods after divorce, I went way to left field. People didn't even know me sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
They saw me in the public. Oh, you're such a great guy, but behind closed doors, a different guy. But I realized the choices I was making then was related to the choices, things I went through as a kid. I'm like, this is not life for me.
Yeah.
Again, choice, power of choice. Whether you need a mental health professional, whether you need a spiritual life coach, whatever it is, maybe you need a best friend to hang out with and talk to.
Mm-hmm.
Choice alters outcome. I'm not trying to give you a bunch of cliches and slogans tonight. My choices alter my outcome. Having some amazing adult kids in life who took to heart some of the good lessons of growing up, who are doing amazing things, who has this freedom of self-checking that pops. Some adults, we parents, we're like, oh no, yes, let your kids check you. They know you better than somebody else. Okay.
But you know what? Hold on with that. I have experienced things with different people, and you do have some people that feel like a kid has to stay in a kid's place, and that, you know, if you're the child, that you can't just talk to the adult like that, right? And, you know, without getting all of the details and telling you all the business and everything, but, you know, I had a situation where I felt like there was an adult who was hella disrespectful.
Mm-hmm.
And at that particular point, I'm in a different space, you know, and so me not even trying to allow that energy to come into my life was just like, okay, well, you know, when you get it together, then I guess we'll talk again, right?
Yeah.
And, you know, I had somebody say, well, you know, in certain situations with adults and, you know, family members that are older than you, you shouldn't do such and such, and you shouldn't talk to people a certain way. And I'm just like, I think that people miss the fact that when you become adults, like, your job as a parent is to raise children that have a mind of their own, right?
Exactly. You just
and if they have a mind of their own, then why can't they understand that, you know, you can say certain things as long as it's in a respectful manner, you know what I'm saying? And you could be right and be the child, but I've had, you know, both sides where people are just like, well, you know, check them, and then some where they're just like, well, no, if that's a parent or if that's an elder or whatever, you shouldn't check them. But sometimes people are just wrong. You know what I mean?
I'm gonna take. I wasn't trying to go real personal, but I'm gonna share. Excuse me. You know, I'm sure people that won't mind me sharing this. Like I said, the home I helped create and manage when I was married. We at the dinner table, we allow freedom of speech. So kids knew that growing up, as long as you do it in a respectful way, you can save. That's your safe space, as some people call it.
Yeah.
So that's normal. But if you start cultivating that with your kids, whoever it is in your life, and find a way to cultivate that, yeah, you can get all what you just talked about. But in my opinion, once people feel they have that safe space, maybe you a husband and wife, and when she said this is a safe time to talk, you find that window once 1 hour a week, it becomes a habit, and everything levels out. Whereas we're not judging you, we're not criticizing you, we're just talking. That safe space. That worked then. And again, like I said, I lost the way. Sometimes I still fall off the wagon, so to speak, in that. But I check myself because I remember what it's like not to have that safe space.
That's amazing. Now, as far as what you're doing with, like, let's just say, I know your poetry, but you also help, you know, from what I've known, to be able to help cultivate other poets, right?
Yeah.
So that helps people find their voice Because a lot of time, and I have seen it. Okay, so
Yeah.
just FYI for anybody who doesn't know, back in the day, let's talk about Love Jones Day. I could give you the year
Right.
2001
Right.
all the way up to. I used to manage poets. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? I managed 10 poets.
Right.
I used to make sure that they got paid.
Right.
Probably some of the people that y'all know around here, I
Yeah.
used to
Yeah.
manage them, right?
I remember. You had
And
your little thing going.
so in doing that, you learn that you have to speak to people a certain way. You learn that some people are professional and some people are not.
Yeah.
You learn that some people are serious and some people are, just doing things for the giggles and the laughs and the
Yeah.
claps and the applause.
Yeah.
But it's still a way, when you're doing that and helping kind of cultivate other poets, that I think that sometimes when people are writing, they want to be critiqued, right?
Right.
How do you find that you are able to help people be able to do that and create that safe space for people who are not like family members?
Well, so now that's taking me back because see, one of the things I had to do on my journey, I had to pull away from the poetry community, local community. I had to see what part was personal, what part was professional, how I was benefiting, how I wasn't benefiting. When I was engaging with people, I had the Try Poetry Meetup group. It helped me develop those skills you're talking about at a different level, but I still hadn't got them ingrained to the point where they are now. So back then, I was able to bring people together. We helped through. I had a great foundation, great organization. Greensboro Public Library came alongside me. They paid on another poet in the city. I was a volunteer person that came alongside, and they allowed me a platform to do writing workshops, to facilitate writing writing programs, to host writing programs in different branches for free. So that's how I did it back then. I've done it some on the internet, virtually, but I really have pulled away from the aspect because I needed to get down to that book again. I need to see poetry as it was my original purpose for it was healing me. I wanted something to share with everyone else, but at the age of 13, I wrote a poem, I Am. I lost track of that poem. I rewrote it again as the adult me is in that book because I had to do some, people tell me, you need to heal more. How else better to heal than to write?
I totally agree with you. You know what? You are just, okay, hold up. Because you just said a whole bunch of stuff in that. One, I like the fact that you said, yes, I was good at that. I was meeting people. I was branching out. I was able to do all of these wonderful things. But in order for you to do what you needed to do for you, you had to pull back from that. So I think that that's an important factor because sometimes we just doing too much, not in a bad way, because it's productive, it's helping and everything. But when you start to see that it interferes with you accomplishing what you wanted to do, then pulling back is something that I feel like is necessary. So I think that's an important lesson just for people to learn. And then when you talk about, changing over and completing something, like, how long would you say it took you to complete that book? Like once you started writing it and actually saying, okay, let me get these things out of my mind, put them into a book, and then go through the whole process of publishing it. How long did that take you?
Probably about 10 years for a book that's not even 30 pages long. So I finally settled in on it. Some of the poems I was sharing at open mics fell into the book. I went digging up old stuff like it's in the book. Some of the things I wrote about years before I revised it and put it in the book. This was a test project for me so that no one could rip me off also for doing a book. So I not only wrote it, I assembled it, I self-published. I did the whole thing beginning to end. It has some errors in it, but I know what to look for. Someone else does a book for me come in future. So I taught myself the ins and outs of everything. So probably about 10 whole years for a book that's not even 26 pages long. But when it was all over, I realized it was really about healing more than it was about selling. So now I'm saying, y'all need to go buy my book because the healing part's been done. So let's get to support the book and T-shirt. But when it comes back down to everything, even if you don't sell something or sell your story, if it's not written, I think you're doomed to repeat a lot of it. Something like putting something on paper. You look back and say, oh, yeah, it's like alive. You can go back and replay it. So, oh, yeah, that was me. So we haven't really talked a lot about the podcast. Now I'm switching over to the podcast. My podcast is more important to me than poetry.
Excuse me, sir. I'm supposed to be interviewing you, okay?
I'm sorry.
Can you let me ask some? I got way more questions than that. Okay.
Okay, go ahead. I'm
You
sorry.
can take the time. Look, we have time. We have time because
Okay.
I think that you might feel a little bit rushed, but I think that when we talk about that process of doing things, to me, you're saying, I don't know. This is how I feel. I feel like maybe you're even diminishing the accomplishment a little bit. You know what I'm saying?
I
Because
don't.
like
I don't
it
really.
took
I don't.
10 years.
I really don't see it as an accomplishment now. But I know it was a
No,
struggle.
I'm not even going to allow that at all. No, no, no.
Okay.
Look, you said it took 10 years to get something, and you're like, that's not even 26 pages. But do you understand how many people don't have one page? Like,
Wow.
it is an
Yeah.
important thing that, and I'm always about people celebrating their successes.
Yeah.
So not only did you take the time to actually put it together, then you wrote it, then you went ahead and then you published it, and then now it's up, and you have something that's tangible. So I don't want you to, just be like, okay, well, it was only a short thing. That short thing was 10 years in the making. You know what I'm
That is
saying?
true.
So
That is
don't
true.
diminish it,
I
okay?
won't.
Because
That is
it's
true.
somebody on here right now that wants to write a book that doesn't have a book.
Well, I'll tell you what. If they want to write a book, I'll be glad to share my story. We can talk anytime.
Okay.
One thing about me now, the way I do things now, I'm like, some people see COVID as a nightmare. I see COVID as being a blessing. Because
Okay.
COVID being a blessing in the sense that we don't have to come physically face to face where we may be uncomfortable telling our story to someone else. We can do
Oh.
it virtually.
Mm-hmm.
And if we want to tone them out for a moment, there's no disrespect because it's
Mm.
your technology. And then we can interact and we can share and we can help each other to grow in ways we couldn't before COVID.
Yeah.
Some people have said to me, well, COVID is so bad. I said, no, COVID is one of the best things that ever happened to us. In the
Mm.
context, we have opportunity to grow, to develop, to interact
Mm-hmm.
with people beyond the funny and happy stuff. We have to have real
Mm-hmm.
conversations, either on a Instagram Live, a Zoom meeting. We got to have
Mm-hmm.
real conversations, hit the mute button when we feel uncomfortable, and re-engage.
No, but I mean, to me, COVID has been both. You know what I'm
Yeah,
saying? Very good and very bad. It just depends on how you look at it, and it
yeah.
depends on what the day is and how you feel. You know what I
That is
mean?
so true.
But
That's so true.
it has forced us to take our communication online. So being able to do this now, mind you, I was already doing this before COVID happened,
Right.
right? We were doing it in person at the studio, but now a person doesn't have to be here in Greensboro, North Carolina. You could be anywhere else. And most of the people that I've interviewed are not right here. So
Right.
it gives you that flexibility. But for a person like you, it also gives more people an opportunity to hear your story. So what I want to transition to is, what do you feel like is your superpower?
I sent you one thing in the email, but
Uh-huh.
really my superpower is what we're doing now. Just
Okay.
engaging with people in conversation. Because at the end of the day, we all have a story that has something in common, in my
Mm-hmm.
belief. But how can
Mm-hmm.
I know what we have in common if we never talk?
Mm. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So if
Yeah.
we
Those conversations.
and if we talk to listen and not just be heard,
Mm-hmm.
we'll find a lot of threads in common. Don't
Mm.
care where you're at. It doesn't matter about my childhood. It doesn't matter about my adulthood. What matters is where we meet now, in my opinion. We meet now on the same level playing field. We meet now. I don't know you. You don't know me. Or I do know you. You do know me. Let's have a conversation.
Mm-hmm.
Old-fashioned conversation. That's my
Mm-hmm.
superpower. My mother never met a stranger. I don't know any strangers.
Mm-hmm.
Even people have road rage toward me, like the guy did today. He wasn't really a stranger. He's part of humanity that's having a bad moment. Didn't feel at
Mm-hmm.
the time he's on a bad moment because he about pushed me up. He pushed me up the freaking highway and to the
Oh,
side. But he's still part of humanity. And
yeah.
somewhere he's dealing with something that caused him to behave that way.
Uh-huh. Yeah, I mean, it is. But okay, I want to, because I don't want to gloss over what you said as far as Black men specifically when it comes to, not necessarily talking about trauma or mental health issues. And I feel like that to me is really an important thing. So I want to just circle back to that. And, if you were talking to somebody,
Mhm.
having one of those enlightening conversations like you're saying right now, and you could tell somebody's been through something. I mean, first of all, we know everybody's been through something,
Mm-hmm.
but you know how you could just tell, like, somebody wants to get something off their chest, something is like in their brain, like they really want to say something. You know, what would you tell that person in order to make sure that hopefully they can get a way to express themselves? What would you tell them to do?
I've actually encountered men, black, white, different races, going on my side gig. They brought it to my attention, came up like that.
Mm-hmm.
And what I've said to them was, if you see yourself, you see yourself changing, personality-wise, otherwise, don't be afraid to ask someone how they see you.
Oh, hold on. If you see yourself changing.
Don't be afraid to ask someone else how they see you. Because they may see you changing in ways you don't see yourself. And that could be your brother, your sister, it could be anybody, it could be a coworker. Because if you've
Oh,
been a certain way around this person for a while, they know you or know how you behave, and all of a sudden you're night and day, ask them how they see you. Ask them how they
oh,
see
that's
you.
a good
And
one.
be willing to accept what they tell you, whether you may not agree, if you don't agree with it.
Mm-hmm.
This is something, again, I'll go back to some of those closest to me.
Mm-hmm.
They have that freedom. I don't
Mm-hmm.
always like what they have to say, but I realize that I'm always evolving like they're always evolving.
Mm-hmm.
And those that are uncomfortable with it will usually, in my life, cut the conversation short.
Come on.
But those few men I've engaged with, black and white, at one of my side gigs, they said we don't think about that because I know what age I was when I started going through my change really hard.
Mm-hmm.
That led to where I was being single. So yeah, ask that person. It's
Love
hard.
that.
It's hard medicine,
Yeah.
but it can be. It's better to take hard medicine than medicine long.
Now, do you
I
have these
think.
type of conversations with your kids?
Oh, we talk about anything, everything. My granddaughter
Okay.
turned one last Saturday. They
Uh-huh.
had a pool party for her, and my 6'2" son decided to pay me back for my torture as a kid. To him as a kid, he picked me up and body slammed me twice in the pool. I'm like, why? He's like, because that's what you did to us as kids. So we have that open thing. We have that.
Okay. All
If
right.
it
So
comes down to,
a little bit of payback then in that case.
if it comes down to conversations,
Uh-huh.
we can have those uncomfortable conversations,
Okay.
uncomfortable conversations about different things. Uh, Even though one is 30 and the other one is 35 soon.
Uh-huh. Oh,
Yeah,
wow.
yeah,
Okay. You got
yeah, I'm old.
grown kids then, grown
Grown
folks.
kid, grown folk.
But no, I think that that's important because, I mean, you also have a granddaughter from what I've been able to see.
Yeah,
So,
my grandbaby turned 1. Her big brother turned
yeah,
4.
I
Next
saw the
month.
picture with that little cute face, and I'm just like, you know what? You know how sometimes you see people and you don't know how old they are, so you don't ask. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And you don't do that with black people because you don't never know how black people are. I might be 90 years old. I'm 95, and I'm sitting here
Yeah.
just as chocolate and
Well,
pretty, right?
I'll be 50. I will be 59 in September,
Thank you, God. All right, so we get ready to celebrate a birthday for you,
and
but
my grandson will be 4 years old in September. So his double birthday's coming up.
oh, okay, so you got a
And
bunch going.
yeah, my aunt in New Jersey. I think will turn 71 in September.
Oh, wow.
So we rolling. We September babies. You get your hands full
Okay.
doing with us.
Oh yeah, no, I'm a summer baby. I'm a June baby, so I've already had my time. But
Yeah.
I enjoy my Gemini-ness, I must say for sure.
Okay.
Now let's transition then because one thing
You got me
I
laughing.
know
Okay. Hey.
I want you to tell people because you've
Ah,
told people before, but we're gonna tell them live tonight, right? You know what I'm about to say?
I have no idea.
Alfred didn't really like me at first, y'all.
I really don't like you sometimes now, but when you okay?
Okay, but let me tell I
you would have.
want him to tell you why he didn't
I'm
really
sorry.
like me at
See, I
first.
dropped my seat down messing with you.
Okay, tell them what happened. Tell them why you didn't like me at first.
I had just lost my job, started taking those small business classes that you teach,
Hmm.
and you said something about me not making money at my business, called it a hobby. That
Hmm.
really pissed me off because I'm like, I know I'm doing things, and yeah. Then we'll come, yeah. That took all friendship we had away that night,
Uh-huh.
and I still came back from more of your classes,
You
sitting there
did.
to endure. But yeah, that's what I'm telling people. Like Chisa and I had a rocky road, but she's got me on tonight. So life is good.
But look, you know what the thing is? I think that sometimes we have to like literally sit back. I'm gonna give you an example. I know I've never been like diagnosed with ADD or nothing like that. I am very effective at doing a whole bunch of things, but I am very multitask. You know, if I have a list, I'm going to write a list out of things that I need to get done. They're going to get done usually within a week, depending on how long the list is. But I may not go in a linear path and just finish one thing, right? My husband, he's not that person at all. If he got a list, he's going to go one by one by one by one, and he's going to finish it and it's going to be complete. And Mr. Brown is not going to stop till the list is finished. Okay. Me, I'd be like, I'm going to do it tomorrow. He don't play those games. Right. So it's like that balance of things, I think, works for us because I don't have that. I don't have the just do one thing and just don't stop. He has that, right? And I mean, you know, if you were going to be like kind of envious of things, so I told him tonight, I said, listen, I'm going to write down my to-do list for everything that I need to do. And then would you tomorrow take my list and prioritize it for me? And I'm going to really try to do things in whatever order you deem fit until they're finished. I'm going to try to see if I can make that happen, right? So he looked at me like, I don't know if he believed me, right? I don't think he believed that I was even going to do it. But I said, sometimes I think you have to see things from another person's perspective, right? And for me, business means making money. And this is just one of the lessons. Like, if you want to do stuff just because you love it, then that's fine. Just do it just because you love it. I don't have a problem with that. I do plenty of things and do them for free because I love them. But if it's going to be a business, we need you to make money. So that's what I was really saying. And so Alfred was not happy with me. But guess what he did? He came back the next week. He sure did come back and he took some more classes. And when I see people that are doing things that are productive, progressive, moving forward, still keeping up with it, and even if you have to change, to me, that's an important thing, because do you know how many people stop? Like, how many people would have took that, been mad at me, and not come back to a class? How many people don't come to classes because it's you or whoever is doing whatever, you know what I'm saying? And it could be some good stuff that they're missing. So I never worry about who's not there, because I know that the right people will be in the room, the right people will be in the building, and the right people will be listening and then doing, you know, the things that they need to do in order to get what they want. So with you changing and kind of shifting and making this new brand, what would you say is really like unique about this new brand that you've done? Because then we're going to go into like the podcast, but what made you really shift from, okay, look, now I was doing the poetry thing, I got my book done, now let's do the t-shirts. What made you go into that shift?
Well, maybe go into the shift again. I'll go back to something I said earlier. Years ago, my friend named Tyson used to nickname me Mr. 12 Hats. Mm-hmm. I come to realize, like you, I can multitask all day long. Sometimes it's an order written out, sometimes it's not. That's the difference. Mm-hmm. I flow between the two of what you and your husband do. But I heard someone on the radio said years ago, if you have value in your name, you put your name on it. Mm-hmm. So Mr. 12 Hats was not my name. Mm-hmm. Alfred is my name. Mm-hmm. I do poetry, but I do so much more. So that's when I connected it. My name has value to someone in this world. I know people care about my name. I enjoy poetry, but I also do a lot of other things. So what can I do to bring it all together? AKA the brand Alfred Harrell, More Than a Poet. Now, hashtag More Than a Poet. It's all registered as a business. I have an Instagram as a business page, Facebook business page. It's all with the little numbers they give you so no one can steal it. That kind of thing. So that's what made me settle in on this brand. My name, what I love to do with the other things in it. So, and it's funny, I had a lady ask me yesterday, she said, so you do poetry? I said, so you missed the first part, huh? She's like, I saw More Than a Poet. So what else do you do? And then I had her in. Then she was looking at my t-shirt website. Then she was looking at my podcast. But that's the catch. It's like, so you see poet. Everybody sees poet. They miss More Than. And even one gentleman took in, one lady I told her how to use a QR reader on her phone. She said, like, how do you find you? I said, open up your photos, your camera, hold it over there on my card, barcode, it'll read it. Oh, I can do that. So I'm not only getting people, I'm hooking them, teaching them things they didn't even know on their phones. So it scanned, it took it directly to my Linktree website, and Next thing, she's looking at all the products and everything else. And the podcast, because it's all there. So the transition came in harnessing what was already in front of me. Sometimes we miss what we have in front of us because we're so busy we're looking at the foolishness of social media and don't see the business end of social media.
Come on.
And it's like the podcast. I don't even go. I have no idea what I may have done sales-wise in my T-shirt store. I don't really care. I just know people are paying attention. Podcast is a little bit different. But I'm going to hold off on that because I got a special announcement to make that happen. Something special happened today on that.
Oh, you know I live for a good announcement. That's one of the things I love.
But since you're not there yet, I'm not going to touch it till you get there.
Okay, but look, I want you to then tell them. So I feel like it probably was a natural progression with you being a speaker and with you doing the poetry for you to do a podcast. But what would you say was the inspiration for it? Because, you know, I mean, what made
inspiration, if he's not gone off of this thing, is my oldest son. For everything. He sent me a video at 4:15 a.m. one morning on YouTube. I said, Dad, watch this. This is for you. My phone beeped at 4:15 a.m. So therefore, I wake up every morning, Monday through Friday at 4:15 a.m. Quiet time, meditative time, reading time, audible time. Because he sent me a video. It's like talking about not where you're at, but where you want to go. And I watched that video. 4:15 in the morning. That's what made really was empowerment. That was a major life change because I was doing everything you talked about, going back and forth, up and down. That got me going. So now I make sure I plug in to people. If things go well, Atlanta Day, my vacation, my holiday weekend in Atlanta, our holiday weekend in Atlanta, which I'm hoping you to reach out. She said you reached out to her today, Twisted 3 LLC. That's my other person in my life that keeps me going. That's my yin and yang. Twisted 3 is LLC. Twisted 3 is LLC. She said you sent her a message today. Twisted 3 is LLC.
Oh, Karen. Yes, earlier today. You know what? Today has been such a long day.
No problem. She's my yin. She's the opposite of your husband. She's not person. I don't talk about much. I don't respect her not being too public now, but yeah, she's that female voice. All said and done, getting back on track to what you're asking me. That was the starting point. Okay. The rest of the work was up to me. And going back to what you talked about, making money, Alfred, he got out to Harrell now, Tide Studios, that guy. He also said to me years ago, Dad, you've done the work, but the money hasn't arrived in the bank yet. So I had to tap into some of those little sayings and stuff and keep moving. I know you ask a simple question, I give $1 million answer.
No, I mean, but the thing is, your answer is your answer. But now I'm on the cusp of having a face-to-face with a major YouTube influencer Labor Day weekend. Will Hollis the King. I reached out to him. I've been posting his stuff. He's been posting my stuff. I posted his stuff before. He also caught me one morning at 5 a.m. It's crazy what early morning rises uses people. I get up early and go back to sleep, but I will rise.
I took that old quote about taking a seat at the table and I changed it. I said, if you're not invited to the table, build your own. And people have said it before, but I said, build your own in a way that they will come or something like that. My phone beeped at like 5:15. He had shared with his 400,000 followers on his storyline. I'm like, wow, I have 300. This man has 400,000. He caught that. So now hopefully we will meet face to face for the first time in Atlanta. He rolls in the Les Brown company. He rolls in that type of people. But he now sees value, like you. He sees the value. And we potentially will sit down in Atlanta for a few minutes on this schedule. So,
well, you know what I think is
you and he and people have been a blessing to my life. And I felt like slapping some of y'all, but that's okay. I stuck it out.
That could have been what you wanted to do.
I know. Not literally, you know what I'm saying?
Look, you know, because I'm one that slapped me and I slapped you back. But no, don't worry about that.
Okay.
We're not going to get violent out here today.
We're not going down that road today.
Good word. How about that?
I showed up to your class again. That was good enough.
I know. I didn't run. You know what? It's been people. This is just a quick story, and then I'm going to tell you what I think was really important about what you just said. I had a person come to my class, and she said that she wanted to, this was years ago, she wanted to start a nonprofit. And I said to her, okay. And I always ask people the same question when they tell me when they want to start a nonprofit, two of them. One is why, and then the other main one is, are you a type A personality? Like, do you feel like you have to have control over everything? And you know how a person that has to have control over everything needs to understand that just having a nonprofit is not going to be the thing that's going to be as fulfilling, because you have to have a board of people. When you're doing your business and you're Alfred Harrell more than a poet, you can make the decisions on everything that you do, and you don't have to check with anybody else. But if you turn that into a nonprofit and then you got a board of 4, 5, 10, 20 people, you answer to the board, regardless of what your ideas are and which direction you want to go. If Alfred decides he wants to start 10 podcasts, he can do what he wants to do. But when he's got a board, then there's an issue with that, right? So I'm telling this, she is just, I mean, she is going back and forth. And I'm just like, okay, all right, ma'am, start your nonprofit. Like, I'm just telling, when I'm telling you, I knew it. So maybe a year later, right? I see the same young lady. Was it a year or 2 years, right? I don't even want to say all of the details because it's going to give it away just in case anybody is on here. And I know she's here local in this particular triad area. And she's doing a business that is so opposite of being a nonprofit. When I'm telling you, so opposite.
Wow.
And she is then asking me, can she speak at one of my events?
Uh-oh. Give it a little eye.
No, ma'am. No. Because see, the thing is, and I think that one thing I can say about you, I think that sometimes people have to understand, I never really liked the word humble. I never really liked that word. I still don't like it. But I think that you have to be respectful. And that's really the biggest thing. You don't have to agree, like you said, with somebody. But I think that in your journey of business, whether you have, and this is where I'm getting to the point that's important for you, whether you have 300, 3,000, 3 million, 30 million fans, followers, or whatever, you can always get brought back down. You know what I'm saying? And I think that what's important is with your 300 followers, that man that has this many more followers, thousands more than you do, was paying attention to something that you put out. But it's not just about the one thing that you put out. It's oftentimes the consistency of people seeing you and understanding the type of person you are based on the things that you're posting, understanding your voice, understanding your drive, and also just knowing that they used to be that person too. Now, maybe not exactly the same, but everybody had to start from some type of beginnings. And I think that sometimes we don't know who we're going to see going up, coming down, or in the middle. So you can't be nasty to me a year ago and then come to me a year later talking about, you can't do nothing for me, honey, except pay me to come to something. You could come to something. You could pay to come to something. But I'm just thinking to myself, like, I try my best to always just be respectful of people, even if I don't like people. But it's like, I've even, like, you know how you don't deal with people anymore, but I'll still send business to you if you are good at what you do, right? Mm-hmm. So it's kind of one of those things where, you know, I think that you see the value in other people and you understand that respectful connection with relationships, because if you came to a class to learn something, then that must mean that the person that's at the class probably knows something else and has another connection that could then lead you to something else. So I think that it's important to, like I said, I don't like the word humble, but to just respect where you're at now and where you want to be. Mm-hmm. Because it's going to take you, but it's going to be different parts and different things that you learn along the journey for you to get where you got to go. So I'm going to prophesy, because usually I wait to prophesy to the end, but y'all been giving I'm going to prophesy that you are going to have that meeting with that gentleman. I'm going to prophesy that the things that you want as far as growing this business and then just getting your voice heard, because you don't need that many people to really start monetizing. You know what I'm saying? those things are going to come to pass probably sooner than you think. And you being in the right space with the open mind and the open heart and being willing to communicate and also being vulnerable, those are valuable things that when you look at like what makes people go viral, it's because they were honest. I mean, sometimes they lie, but
yeah, true.
like, so that lady trying to Kickstarters for some kids that she was babysitting, talking about they were okay. Sometimes they lie, but when they're not lying, they're telling you the genuine, honest truth, and you can feel it. It's like an amazing thing that I think honesty is something that's refreshing nowadays. So to me, I think that's what you have. And I can see that always being able to take you far. So now we got the inspiration for the podcast. Tell us what the podcast is about. And are you looking for guests? What kind of people do you want to interview? Tell us what's going on with it.
It's funny you would ask all those questions, but it's not funny because first of all, I'm coming upon the 3rd year anniversary. Podcast, September. Like I said, I came across the ad on Facebook about an app. People were knocking the app. Like, who's going to do a podcast through an app on the phone? You need a studio and all this fancy equipment. The app grew in popularity to the point that Spotify purchased it for like $2.5–3 million.
Anchor, yep, they got it.
Anchor, so, and because of Spotify owning Anchor, my podcast landed on iTunes, Google. It landed on the 4 major platforms in less than 5 months. Plus, I told my story. The book could have been entitled Preconditional Fail. That was my very first episode, raw from the gut stuff we can talk about in this beginning of this conversation. 3 years later, it's still the #1 played podcast. It has over 56 plays already. Okay. But my oldest son suggested my speech should be Preconditional Fail. I just took it and did this podcast episode. So I didn't have an audience yet. So like, when y'all want to book me as a public speaker, I can tell the same story face to face, y'all. I don't mind telling it face to face.
You better pub it while you're on here. Yeah.
Yeah, because that's the one element I have not promoted, public speaking. I was a lay minister for a lot of years. I get the background training. But a lot of stuff. But some stuff we'll go into another episode, maybe another day, one-on-one. But Preconditional Fail was #1. It's my #1 podcast, my story. A gentleman I'm going to shout out here that met me through LinkedIn, Jairus Tucker. He did the legwork when I interviewed him remotely. So he broke the record for number of plays. I interviewed Jairus. He went on LinkedIn, everywhere on social media. He had 27 plays in less than 24 hours. He did the legwork. So yeah, the podcast caught steam because of what I did, my story. To answer the other questions, I'm holding for the big announcement about it though. I'm gonna keep you waiting a little bit longer.
Whatever you want to give me, give me.
Yeah, but you know, it is going back to how Spotify helped. It made it shareable on every platform. All the good perks came along with it. The name, I didn't really like the name. Another person I encountered in the business world said the name is great. Life is about more than living. It's catchy. I'm like, I'm gonna change. Don't change the name. Leave it.
It is a good name.
Because a lot of people don't realize that life is not about working just for a job all the time. That's what you choose to do. That's great. But if you're just one of the 70% that hate going to work every day, you need to think otherwise. We hate your job. And then through other interactions, business interactions, my podcast is now on average played in anywhere from 3 to 5 countries in languages I don't even speak. 3 years later.
Come on.
And listening audience, largely female. I've dabbled in some episodes dealing with politics and things of that sort. They don't do so well. People like some positive, you can get negative anywhere.
You can, yeah. That positivity is
and some of the things you've talked about, I've heard you speak on. I shared them on the podcast. So yeah, the podcast 3 years old. As far as guests goes, I use periodically I use a service called Match FM to get guests. This worked out fairly well. I've been able to interview people, a gentleman from Great Britain, from at least 3 different countries. The episodes are still doing pretty good. Well, I got an interview coming up this Saturday. My first face-to-face since a gentleman named Dominique Wilkins. I'll give Dominique Richardson, DC Demolition. I'll give my shout out to my local black business owners. Met him face-to-face, interviewed him. This is a young man who started out with Push More Homemade Signs, who turned $100,000 in his business about 3 years ago. This upcoming Saturday, going back to answer your question with a real life with another event. I'm sitting down with a gentleman from Pike Corporation, HR manager, and in my area actually. He agreed to face-to-face at a coffee shop of his choosing, and we were going to record there. Because even though he's on LinkedIn for one thing, I want to hear his backstory and how he ended up working with Pike Corporation and the position he's in, all that good stuff. Then I have another interview.
What type of people or like what type of stories are you looking for?
Let me clear that up with the first question. Asked, what is it about? My podcast is about anything you want to talk about, any type of person, as long as you're not shooting me the BS. You're real at what you do. You can be verified to social media or something. You're not coming with some like your lady did. Because I've had one do me like that. She's not showed up on this thing to listen to this.
I bet she did.
I met her through the same service. She kept asking to be a guest on the show. I finally set it up. Then she wants me to, the way I link up with my guests is through email or text. Then she'll change her email address to some Yahoo email address. I'm like, oh no, we're going to use the link through Square, an original business link. So I was like, I don't know, something is not right about this. Block her out. She follows me on Instagram, but that's it. I don't know if she's a real person or not. I didn't want to take a chance on it. So my guests, when I record remotely, I take the email address and invite them in, and we record.
Okay.
Straight up and raw.
So anybody that's free and has a good story to tell is what you're looking for.
It can be anything, personal or business. Well, I'm gonna give a special announcement after I make this other announcement.
Okay.
A Facebook friend of mine in Albuquerque, New Mexico. He's traveled to Greensboro once. Zachary Cluckman. He's a professional spoken word poet. He earns his living doing that, writing, all that stuff. I missed him when he came to Greensboro for one of Josephus events. He's agreed to be my guest, a guest on my podcast in September 4th, maybe the weekend. So I'm going to record that Saturday. I post a meter thereafter, about an hour or so after. And Zachary, I'm so excited about Zachary because we never met. He has stories on stories on stories because he's traveled the country doing this. He loves poetry. He's going to give some all. This can be a great interview.
I bet it will. Yeah.
And he's going to bring his energy. He's very active in his community to the point he's invited me to visit him in Albuquerque, Mexico.
Sounds like a vacation.
He's going to be a powerful voice coming up September 4th. That's the day y'all can look for the episode to drop. Another gentleman I'm going to interview, I don't have his information off my head. Zachary and the Pike gentleman, they could be heavy hitters because their stories are real. They got some stuff. Heck, I can even have you. I know you. That's still might be.
You're not going to have me.
That'll be a 2-hour-long recording. I know
First of all, I can shorten it down. You
know how we are. We talk. Okay.
But no, all people have to do is give me my parameters of time, and I will stay in the constraints. So you don't even worry about that.
Before we jump off, before we go into deep on that, like I said, the podcast, that's how it works. I have guests on. I'm always looking to be a guest on somebody's program, whether it's live or whatever. I don't want to get off of this without giving a shout out to another gentleman I interviewed. You go to my podcast, you'll find these people. This one, Larry and Diglia. God, his name is so hard to pronounce. Actually, I have his cell phone number on my phone. I need to give him a call. He wrote a book. He met this lady on an online dating site. They dated for 128 days, 4 hours, and some minutes. Then she died. He knew she was in stage 4 cancer when they met each other at the dating site. They met, they fell in love. He wrote a book about that love story.
Oh, wow.
It's on Amazon. It's everywhere. We talked for almost an hour and a half on that episode. I pull back tears here and tell me how he met this one online dating her. And she was a dancer and she went out strong. She didn't go out a weak broken cancer person. She was still working out, eating healthy, got him dancing, got him living healthy. She brought into his life what he didn't have. He told their love story
Oh,
after she
wow.
passed away.
So we need to listen to that episode. That's
128 days and some hours a minute. He dropped off the seconds part, but he counted their time together down to the seconds when she passed away.
Oh, wow. That's amazing. That's amazing.
But,
so now with your T-shirts, tell people where they can get your T-shirts, because I think that the message that is on them is, to me, really important, and it's something that everybody can be a part of. So where can they get the T-shirts?
The T-shirts, for everyone here, go to my LinkedIn profile, click the link in my profile. It covers everything we talked about tonight. The T-shirt will be popping out at you because I got it on buzz buttons. Yeah. No matter what happens, I'll win. This is from a guy who shouldn't be here today. Okay, y'all. Thank you for doing what I didn't do. Yours look better than what yours in purple. So go to my link on my Instagram. You'll see the T-shirt thing popping out at you. It also has matching coffee mugs, everything else now.
Okay.
For you ladies, again, shout out to Twisted Threads LLC, real name Karen. Your name is Karen. She has been my lifeline in addition to my children. She's on listening and watching now. She's the one suggested purple. I just posted a message there. I have no problem giving shout-outs to her now, even though we're not 100% public yet.
Well, you making it very public, so I don't know what you're talking
about. But she's doing her own thing. I would love for you to interview her and y'all connect. But she's launched her own T-shirt store. And she's very tech savvy, and she's doing stuff I didn't even begin to imagine. But go to my link in my bio. You order the T-shirts, you order matching items, you get other shirts with other slogans on it, such as various of steps to success and things like that. I've been working on the black. I'm gonna start transferring over to the colors more, purple and pink mainly, hoodies, things of that sort. Just click my link in my bio. Or beyond all of that, my $1 million answer to a total stranger will be Google my brand, because I'm now ranked in the top 10 in Google and I'm not paid a dime for SEO marketing.
Oh, well,
what you said earlier, persistence. I continually post a lot, work a lot, share a lot, and have the right people I interact with now. Because the wrong people will say they want you to succeed, but they really want you to fail because it makes them look good when they fail.
Yikes. Okay, hold on.
Am I wrong?
You said, but yeah, the wrong people. I mean, I think that what we
when they fail, misery loves company.
They do. It's a lot of miserables out there. But I think what happens is, as you go through this entrepreneurial journey, you'll realize that there are people that are definitely clapping for you. And there are some people that are not. Let's just put it like that.
Yeah,
like they might say they are. So this is why, like, I saw this thing and it was talking about, like, it was Michael Todd, and he was talking about people saying, well, I'm going to pray for you. And he was like, okay, well, go ahead and do it. So, I mean, if you're going to pray for me, let me see that you're going to pray for me, because you might just be saying that and then you don't pray for me. Right. You know what I'm saying? Let me see what your prayer life is like, because you might have the wrong prayers and it had me messed up with them prayers that you prayed for me, right? So it's this show we watch. It's called Domino. And it's about the whole thing with Julius Caesar's son, and it's a whole lot of stuff. I like old movie and things like that, right? Yeah. So there's a lady that used to be married to Julius Caesar's son, and she is constantly praying for his new wife to die. I mean, like, literally, she's just like, I'm going to give you my pigs and my horses and my cows and my such and such if you'll just kill her. Sometimes people are praying for your downfall. You know what I'm saying?
Let me interject something real quick.
You need the positive people.
Let me interject something real quick in line with that. A real life story. And I know these people don't hear this. A real life story. Many years ago, a friend of mine's wife was dying of cancer. All these ladies knew she was dying of cancer. They all kept showing up like they were trying to help her around the house and care for her, so they would have first dibs on her husband. Okay. What they didn't know was she had requested that she be buried in the backyard. They had a big yard, facing the kitchen. So every time they went to do dishes, they would see her grave. The person that got him of that group, unless he changed and moved after all these years, lived in that house, would go to the kitchen, and she would be at gravesite in the back by the wood area. He honored his wife's wishes. So they're real life people, not just Julius Caesar stories.
Okay, first of all, I just want to tell you, her levels of petty are amazing.
I had to throw that
and
in.
I love it.
You gave fiction. I gave you real life. Really
I mean, that's some good stuff right there.
That really happened here in North Carolina.
Oh my God.
To a black family.
Wow. Okay. All right. So listen, we are done with this interview.
No, because when you say podcasts and stories and people, I have plenty. But
wow.
because we're engaging with other people, because people, we all have at some point we come together on a certain level. But as you said, a Julius Caesar story, everyone may want the best for you. They don't have the best interest for you. Like you said, if you pray for me now.
Why you see me right here?
Right now. Because when y'all leave, you might have 1,000 things you forget.
But the realest people that I know have prayed for me while we was, you know what I'm saying? So it's something about following through with what you say you're going to do.
Now, let me, as we wrap this up, you said we're going to wrap this up. During my period of life, I call my dark period, I was working at Walmart in Cone Boulevard. Those who live in Greensboro know that store kind of, it can be, I'm going to leave it alone. So there was a lady that came into that store one day. I only know her name. I never saw her again. She didn't know me. She stopped me in the middle of the produce department while I was working. She said, I have a word for you, and I need to pray for you now. And I stopped in the middle of that floor of all these people shopping and allowed her to pray over me. I tell this story because, in line with what you said, because regardless of where we're at in this thing called life, God will sometimes send us the angels in this human form.
Come on.
And sometimes we don't always hear the message until years later. But I still think we're able to talk now what we're doing now. I'm not trying to, I like minimizing me because I've been the proud, outspoken me. I like trying to be this person where I can just talk transparent like you having me do tonight. Her prayers, I was even downtown in the park having a boohoo session where I could talk to at one time going through something. And a gentleman came up to me who was a little bit older than me. He said, if you leave right now, I have a place for you to stay, no bills, no apartment rent, nothing, but you gotta leave right now. And come live with me debt free. I will help you through your journey. Older man, probably 80 some years old, 90 years. And then like I answered him, he looked at me and said, you're not leaving because you like where you're at. When you're tired of where you're at, I'll be gone. You have to find another way.
Okay, you know what?
I'm sorry.
What did you say after that? Like, that's a...
But again, it took years. It took years. So this stuff is real. Just being on the night with you on this platform it's like freaking amazing to me because I'm looking like, I'm interviewing a guy from Pike Saturday, Pike Corporation. I have one of the HR managers I'm going to talk to. Not about a job, just like we doing. He found me on LinkedIn, so let's have a conversation. I like your podcast.
But that's what it takes. I think,
this is a humbling experience. We're humble. We're humble, but this is a humbling experience for me right now. So I told Karen, I told Karen, I said, I have no idea other than I'm gonna be me. So you never really seen me in that element. You'll see me tonight with Chisa. Because she's seen them more control me every day. And she's caught the whole interview like she would know half about that woman in the past.
It's recorded, it's up here, it's live, and then as we wrap up, so what happens after this goes off is that I do put it inside of the Instagram, in the Instagram stories, but it'll be in our Instagram TV, it'll stay there so people can go back and watch it. So if you're watching on the replay, feel free to still share it, You can always tag a friend. You can always leave a comment on it. Let us know what you thought about it, because we do have a lot of people that can't watch live, but then they go and they watch the replay. In addition to that, we take it and we do put on our Give It to the People podcast, and then we also put it on YouTube as well, because the goal is for people to get more exposure, you know, with the one thing. So that one interview, that one piece of content, every interview, there's somebody that says at least one thing that touches somebody. And I'm just saying one, because I mean, you said so many different things that have been important, that have been impactful. And that's what happens with every interview. So we want people to be able to spread their message as wide as possible. So I personally want to just thank you for coming on this evening, because, you know, one thing you have to realize, and this is why I think I am appreciative. I can send out 1 million messages, and that doesn't mean that everybody's going to answer. You know what I'm saying? So the people that do answer the call, it's like, okay, those are your people. That's your tribe. That's who you're supposed to vibe with. And so I appreciate that. You know what I'm saying? So thank you, Alfred, for coming on this evening. And thank you, everybody, for watching, because we always appreciate it. And so I will just wave, okay? And we'll say goodbye. And at the end, I like to tell people, make sure that you always show up and show out and continue to give it to the people. All right?
All right, y'all.
Bye, everybody.